Okay, so somebody emailed me a question about this problem, so I wanted to go over that. It's for everybody. Here we have the definite integral from 1 to 8 of cube root of x squared minus 5 over the cube root of x. So they're asking how to go about doing this problem. So first thing we should do here is rewrite this as powers. We have a division problem here, and we don't have division rules for integrals. At least we haven't developed any yet. So I'm going to first rewrite that as powers. So cube root of x squared is x to the 2/3. It'd be minus 5 over x to the 1/3. And what we have to do here is we have to simplify the division first so that we can get away from having to use some kind of division rule where we can just use our powers. And so what we can do is take that x to the 1/3 in the bottom and divide it into both pieces in the top. So I get x to the 2/3 over x to the 1/3 minus 5 over x to the 1/3. And then I can simplify each of those by doing my division. So 2/3 over 1/3, we'd subtract 2/3 minus 1/3. That would leave us with x to the 1/3. And then I would have 5 over x to the 1/3, which I could write as 5x to the minus 1/3. And now each term is written as a power of x, so we can just use our power rule. So we go through, for x to the 1/3, we would add 1 to it, which would make it 4/3. And then remember, you have to divide by it or multiply by its reciprocal. So we'd have 3/4 x to the 4/3. For x to the negative 1/3, we'd add 1 to it, which would give us 2/3. 5 still sticking around. Instead of dividing by 2/3, I multiplied by 3/2. All right, and then we evaluate that integral now from 1 and 8. So we evaluated at 8, and subtract off, evaluating at 1. So we go ahead and plug in, evaluated at 8. So what I did here is, since that was x to the 4/3, so to make it a little easier to compute, I realized third is cube root, so that's really cube root of 8 to the 4th, and then cube root of 8 squared. And then that's going to be minus, and then we put 1 in for x. 3/4 times cube root of 1 to the 4th minus 15/2 times cube root of 1 squared. And now we just go through and we just start to compute. Cube root of 8 will be 2. 2 to the 4th will be 16. 16 cancels with the 4 to give us just 4 left over. 3 times 4 is 12. Next term here, cube root of 8 is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 and the 2 in the bottom cancel to give us a 2 left over. 15 and 2 would be 30. And then the 1, that part's easy because 1 to any power is just going to be 1. So that's just going to be 3/4 minus 15 over 2. And then I've just done a little bit of computation. 12 minus 30 is negative 18. 3/4 minus 15/2 is a negative 6.75. And when we do the arithmetic, negative 18 minus a negative 6.75, we get negative 11.25. So here we have a definite integral that has a negative answer. And that should make sense, because if we look at the graph of this function, the original function, the whole graph from 1, which is here, to 8, over here, is completely underneath the x-axis. So we'd expect that we would get an area that's negative because it's underneath. And that's why the definite integral here is negative. Hopefully this will help you out as you work through some of these problems, give you a little bit more understanding and clarity with evaluating these integrals using the fundamental theorem of calculus.